So hello to everyone. I can't see a face, but I hope that you're comfortable wherever you're located. My name is Diana, and I'm the Polish language manager at Google, located in Warsaw, Poland. And today I'm going to talk to you about localization at Google. It's going to be localization in a nutshell in the limited time I have. And my talking points for today are a little bit about my career path, as my understanding is that most of you are considering a career in the localization translation industry. So I thought that my experience might resonate with you somehow. And then I'm going to jump right into the impact and challenges of localization at Google and my role as a language manager. And if we have any time towards the end, I can take a couple of questions. And if not, I can also connect with you via LinkedIn or any other medium. So how I ended up at Google, like looking back at my education and work experience, I would say it's fairly typical for people who kind of love languages and like to invest in languages and kind of pursue this career as a linguist translator, because it includes both freelance translating and teaching. So I graduated with an MA in English philology, and then I traveled to the United Kingdom to pursue MA in bilingual translation. And when, as far as my career is concerned, while I was studying in London, I worked as a teacher of English as a foreign language in a language school, which gave me it was a very enriching experience because I taught multinational groups of students from all over the world. So I got to know, well, different cultures, but also different learning styles. Then I went back to Poland and I looked for a job. I was looking for a job, which took me a while, and I landed in Lionbridge, a household name in the industry for everyone, I guess. And I worked for over 4 years there as an in-house translator, editor, and also a language lead. And this is where I basically got my understanding of the localization industry, how it works, what the challenges are. Lionbridge has a huge portfolio of clients, and when I counted once how many companies I translated for, it was up over 80, or even more, I would say. So it was, this is where I took my first steps in the localization industry. Then I moved to Booking.com when I worked as a language specialist. I was responsible for localization and quality management of the Polish version of the Booking.com site. And I think it's fair to note that in the meantime, I spent many years as a freelance translator and teacher of English. Especially, I was teaching, especially in my early years. I would say that translator would be an understatement because I took basically every job that there was in order to expand my portfolio of clients, to expand my understanding of the industry. I even did some voiceover, book translations, cultural consultations. So, but actually, this experience proved to me that freelancing is not something that resonates with me. So I was actually actively looking for a career in a corporate setting, which has been quite successful because after Lionbridge and Booking.com, I landed at Google, where I have been working for 7+ years now, and it's been a fun ride ever since. So now back to the main topic of today's presentation. I would like to start with a question for you, although I won't be able to hear an answer. But I would like you to think for a second. When I say Google, what comes to your mind? What is the first thing that you're thinking about? I'll give you a couple of seconds. And I think I can safely assume that the first thing that pops to most people's minds is the search engine. So Google search, where we actually Google things. So indeed, Google started as a search engine in 1997, but the 20 years after that, or 20+ years after that, there are many, many more products that Google offers. Hopefully you can recognize some of the icons. The products span from consumer products such as YouTube or calendar or Google Meet, Maps. So services that you probably use on a daily basis, to monetization products such as Google Ads. Now, there's another question. Brace yourselves. I'm going to be asking you some questions today. So the next one is, according to you, what % of Google users don't speak English? Make a wild guess. It is over 62%. So 62% of our users don't speak English, come from non-English speaking countries. Another question is, what % of Google's revenue comes from non-US markets? Okay. As you can see, it's over half. So over half of what Google revenues from is generated from markets from outside of the United States. So, so when you couple those facts together, when you put those facts together, the fact that Google offers a vast portfolio of products to people, to audiences who most of which don't speak English, and that it generates its revenue in markets from outside of the US, and it's a US-based company. And when you couple it with the fact and some understanding of user behaviors, or how user behaviors are influenced by the quality of language. So, for example, whether someone makes a decision to buy something online from a page that is poorly localized, that gives them a poor user experience. When you couple all those facts together, you will end up roughly knowing what localization at Google is all about, which is making Google think local and sound native on a massive scale. We at Google like taglines, so I will give you another tagline, which is the credo for localization of my team, Localisation, that is bring the magic of Google to the world and the diversity of the world to Google. Just to show you some facts to help you understand the scale that I was talking about, here are some numbers that Localisation team is operating with. We translate over 1 billion words per year for over 170 products and into over 120 languages, and we leverage the work of thousands of languages, over 9,000 linguists. As you may imagine, we don't do the translation in-house. We outsource the translation and review services outside to our vendors. On top of that all, we work with all these content types, because what makes a product, right? The product is not the user interface that the user directly sees. There are help centers, right? There's legal content, for example, terms of service. There's technical documentation, and there's a whole bunch of marketing materials that also needs to be localized and adapted into a language. This obviously brings a lot of challenges, and here is where the Google Localization team comes to the rescue. Our localization team is like a dedicated big company within a company, and it comprises of 4 kind of sub-teams. The production team, where the language project managers provide a connection between the product teams and other localization teams. There's a language strategy team which is my team, and here is where the language managers provide native language expertise and manage the quality of the output, of the translation output. And there's also a cool team called Testing and Insights that deals with user research and user studies to provide a more to kind of bring user feedback that we can leverage in improving the quality and making various decisions. And there's also the operational excellence team who deals with improving processes and also expanding our portfolio of services. On top of that, I think it's worth mentioning that the localization team works with all these teams. Those are our main stakeholders, so people who our work touches upon and vice versa. So it's marketing, product teams, engineering, content, sales, legal, policy, PR. So for example, just to give you one example of the rapport we have with them, we work with legal team because we translate terms and conditions, but we're good in localization, but not necessarily in legal stuff. So this is where we fine tune. We ask a lot of questions, and this is where we will fine tune our translations. We also work with product teams because we believe that optimizing source leads to a better translation, right? As you can imagine, all source is in English at Google, and then we have to adapt it to each and every market. So this can be also challenging if we receive source that is of bad quality, that doesn't provide enough context, that includes errors. So this is where we also reach out and expand our outreach to kind of influence the source itself. Oh, it's time for another question. So do you think that Google sounds the same all over the world? And remember to the number of languages that we are translating into. It was over 170, I guess, and growing. So do you think that it's enough just to translate word for word? Obviously, the answer is no. Each language at Google has its own style and tone, which is curated blend of local culture, sensitivities, language characteristics, and local stakeholder expectations. So, you know, we also liaise with marketing people who may have their own expectations on how to market, how to brand something, which we also need to take into consideration as language managers. So here is where the language managers come to the rescue in order to bring their expertise and to kind of operate at the scale and with the challenges brought by the scale and scope and language characteristics. Our work, or maybe it's worth mentioning first that we are a very unique team, even within localization. Language managers are part of the language services. We are a unique team in the sense that we are located globally. Like we all sit in office in our countries. So I am based in Poland because I'm the Polish language manager. The Thai language manager is based in Thailand. This is because we need to have this in-country language expertise to be able to kind of provide to be able to provide the up-to-date know-how on the language that might not be available to people who sit outside of the relevant country. Other teams or other people from other teams are located or mainly in hubs in the United States. So our team is unique in the sense that we are truly global. And currently there are 23 language managers, and there are over 100 of languages that Google translates into. So obviously there is not one language manager per every language. We have so-called tier 1 languages, so the 23 languages that I mentioned, whereas the other languages are also managed by so-called long-tail language managers who work with external linguists who actually take care of the language hands-on. But the long-tail language managers, Googlers, manage their work and quality. So on a very high level, our work is organized around 3 pillars that you can see here: voice of Google, local stakeholder partner, and language expert. I won't read out all the tasks that fall into those buckets, but it's fair to say that, it's obvious that we set and evolve the style and tone of the language. We manage terminology. We work on product namings. We also monitor the content quality. We drive improvements. We partner in local launches, provide linguistic support to the stakeholders, define language research needs, and act on insights. So we actually bring the user feedback to the perspective and to the language strategy that we set for a language. So there's a lot of work, a lot of complexities. It's super challenging, super exciting. It's never the same. I'm going to show you an actual example of what this is all about. Here, what you can see is a web page, or is a message that pops up when a web page is terminated unexpectedly in Chrome. And you see a message, "He's dead, Jim." I don't know if you recognize it. It's US based. It actually comes from this character from Star Trek, and it's universally recognized in the United States. This guy actually, in the original Star Trek series, I think he declared someone dead or deceased for over 20 times, and it has become a catchphrase known all over the United States. Obviously, it might not be as recognizable in other countries, so here is where our expertise may be valuable. So in Poland, this has been translated into a quote from a well-known popular comedy, Darkness, I See Darkness, and it's a very well-recognized reference. In Japan, the decision was to make it a straightforward notification message. The system has been forced to shut down because it's inappropriate to be cute or funny when inconveniencing users. So this is an example of a true localization and adaptations to user expectations on a given market. In Spanish, actually, this is, I think in Mexico, Houston, we have a problem which is American still, but less obscure than Star Trek. So this is just one of millions of examples that I could give you of where our expertise comes in handy. And here is the challenge for you. If you think you can localize, this is an excerpt from a Google page with the link is below the images. You can then enter it. It is like a collection of small bite-sized bits and pieces of information about artificial intelligence. It is based around the alphabet. It was sent to localization into translation with the instructions that the structure of the alphabet needs to be retained. So come on, people, translate it into your language. But leave the letters as they are and make sense out of it. So this is like homework for you. Have a look at it and try your skills in, well, not only translating but localizing this into your respective languages. You can then enter this page, and there's a language picker, and you can see how it has been dealt with for some languages. It is not available for all languages, but you can have a look and try localization, your skills in localization. So I guess that's all from me. If you would like to connect, this is my email, and you can also do so via LinkedIn messaging. So thank you very much.